Then he said troops are suckers and losers and are war dead. Yes, he did. He was going to World War I cemetery. My grandfather fought in World War I and was wounded in Europe for this country.
That's been proven to be false.
And I honor your service, and I honor his, and Trump pisses on our veterans and our military every day. Yes, he does.
No, he does not. And I'm asking you a question. If that is the case, December, January, and February, we've seen the highest recruiting numbers for the military than we've seen in years. Why is that the case?
That's Republican Representative and U.S. Army veteran Wesley Hunt on Bill Maher calmly dismantling years of liberal lies in under 30 seconds. No shouting, no spin, just facts, service, and backbone. Welcome to Nerk News. I'm Nerkish, and it looks like the left just picked the wrong veteran to mess with. Because when you spend years smearing Trump and his supporters as dangerous anti-American threats, eventually someone with real-world experience is going to set the record straight. You know, the people who actually serve and sacrifice tend to see through the media spin. I mean, it only took a few sentences for Wesley Hunt to leave Maher and a smug CNN contributor speechless. Here's Hunt taking on both of them on their own turf.
Donald Trump went to a military school for high school. Okay, but he didn't serve. He avoided service in Vietnam. He said he had bone spurs. Then he said avoiding STDs was his Vietnam. Then he said John McCain was not a war hero.
Right. You could say that all you want, but I am somebody that has served, and the people that are in my ranks overwhelmingly look at President Trump and they say, if I really want somebody that's going to defend us and put us in harm's way, if necessary, I would absolutely take President Trump over Joe Biden.
So why does he stab him in the back then?
Well, then if that's the case, then why do we have record recruiting right now?
Do I think it was a good idea to have a parade? No, but if you're going to do it, if you're going to have a vaguely fascist parade, do it right.
I want to say something about the parade to offer another opinion from our side of this whole thing, and that is it was the 250th birthday of our United States Army. I saw the president salute the Corps of Cadets as they walked past him. I watched him salute the 75th Ranger Regiment as they walked past him. I sat there and watched the fireworks behind the Washington Monument. And you know what I thought? Damn, that's absolutely outstanding, and it's far better than Joe Biden checking his watch when bodies were being returned to Dover.
Okay, wait a minute.
This is hold on. This is a contrast that we were talking about and why you lost. Because we are talking about a man that's talking about patriotism. And in parades like that, when I was growing up, I served because I used to go to these parades and watch my dad participate in them. I saw the Black Hawks landing. I visited my sister at West Point. I said, by God, I want to serve this country too. And so the dichotomy of what we're seeing with President Trump and his patriotism, saluting the flag, actually making an effort. And whether you like it or agree with the execution, the effort is there. That's all we want to see.
Execution does matter. First of all, thank you for your service.
Bill,
no, I mean that. I say that to everybody. Always have for 22 years.
I've watched you for 20 years.
Yes, absolutely. I'm always behind the military, and
you have that.
Nobody compares to the military. Everybody says that they're brave. They're brave. Oh, you're so brave. Military, that's who's brave, and cops and firefighters and people like that, but mostly the military.
You know, it's amazing how quickly these people fold when they're up against someone who knows what they're talking about. Paul Begala throws out the tired suckers and losers hoax like it hasn't been debunked for years, and Hunt fires back with facts. Military recruiting rose under Trump. In 2019, every branch hit or exceeded its goals after years of failure under Obama. And now, under Trump's second term, we're seeing the highest recruitment numbers in 30 years. The Army hit its yearly target 4 months early. All 5 branches are on pace or ahead. I mean, people don't sign up for a military they think the commander-in-chief disrespects. That entire liberal narrative just collapsed, which is why Maher mocks the military parade, but unfortunately for him, Hunt was actually there. Trump saluted our heroes while fireworks lit up DC, and despite what the left says, at the end of the day, one president honored our troops and the other looked at his watch. Here's Hunt again, this time sparring with Maher over his favorite subject to attack Trump on.
Do we say that both parties are equally guilty? Because when I think about January 6th and pardoning all the people who were involved in that insurrection, or whatever you want to call it.
Insurrection. How do you have insurrection with no guns, though? That's like having. Well, that's like making coffee.
They
with
brought
beans.
tons of guns. It's just
well, there's 400 guns currently in 40 million guns currently in circulation. One person was killed that day. It was Ashley Babbitt. She was a white unarmed person that was killed by a black Capitol police officer. Imagine if that had been the other way around. When I think of an insurrection as a war fighter, somebody that has seen some real nasty stuff, hold on. When I think about that, what people have to understand is that the summer of love leading up to that was something else. We're talking about $2 billion billion in damage. 200 cities had to go under curfew. 22 people lost their lives. And I understand that January 6th was a Democrats' white rhino, and they were going to run in that. They're going to win the next election. And Donald Trump is still president, last I checked.
Okay, take the politics out of it. Let's just say they were there because they were, I don't know, furious about the price of eggs. No politics. They were just like, Congress has not done anything about the goddamn price of eggs, and we are going to, I don't care how many cops get hurt, we're going to, would it be any different?
Well, again, we were talking about...
Is it just okay because it was defending Trump?
This wasn't necessarily about defending Trump.
Okay, but what if it was what if it was over 100 cops getting hurt and people taking over a building over the price
of eggs?
Over the price of eggs.
Now you're talking about the summer of love. No. That's when people were actually really getting hurt. Well, that's when 22 people died. That's when we watched mayhem in our streets. And even just a couple of weeks ago here in L.A., we were watching people throw pieces of concrete at law enforcement officers and cars burning in the street in our cities. We cannot have that anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, this was brutal. Hunt asked the question no one on the left wants to hear: how do you have an insurrection without guns? The only person shot that day was an unarmed woman, Ashley Babbitt. Meanwhile, in 2020, we saw actual chaos, riots in 200 cities, $2 billion in damages, and 22 people killed. But somehow that was mostly peaceful, while January 6th is treated like Pearl Harbor. You know, Hunt exposed that double standard in one segment. The Summer of Love wasn't just violent, it was cheered on by the media and ignored by Democrats. That's why it didn't work. Americans saw through it. They saw who really stood for law and order and who stood for selective outrage. But let me know what you think. Did Wesley Hunt just deliver the biggest truth bomb Bill Maher's show has ever seen? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.